protecting you. He's shielding you. He's keeping you. Even when people around you are bringing you into the wrong environment, bringing you into an environment that you don't belong in. And people say, come on, girl, over here, because you know you fine. But God knows his purpose is on the inside of you. Because so he won't even let you stay. He won't even let them have their way with you. Because of your purpose. Let's talk about the purpose of God that Sarah had. It said in Genesis 17, when Abraham was 99 years old, the Lord appeared to him and said, I am going to make nations of you, and kings are going to come from you. The promise that God gave Abraham, as I began to study Apostle, was that the promise was for Abraham, but it wasn't just for any old woman.
All right.
And we know the story in the Bible. We know that, of course, in that time they could have concubines and other women that they were allowed to sleep with and have sex with. But God had to be very specific and let Abraham know that I am going to make you the father of many nations. I am going to make your seed great. In fact, he told Abraham, look up at the sky and try to count the stars if you can. That's how numerous your seed is going to be. But God was also very specific on where that promise would come from, who that promise would come through. He said, I am going to make your wife Sarah conceive a child. He wanted Abraham to be very specific to know this isn't just for any old woman. This ain't for your slave. This isn't for a concubine. This isn't for anybody that you would lay down with, but this is for your wife. That's what God is saying to you today. There is a specific promise on the inside of you that's not for anybody else. You better get this. There's a promise on the inside of you that's not for your girlfriend. That's not for your best friend. That's not from your neighbor. So you don't have to fear. God has spoken a specific promise for you. And the specific promise that God has spoken to you shall come to pass. In fact, we know about this because Jeremiah 15 lets us know. Before I formed you in your mother's womb, I knew you. I appointed you. I called you. I gave you an assignment. I gave you an assignment. Don't you know that everything that you need to complete the assignment, daughter, you don't have to step out of character. You don't have to step out of your lane. You don't have to go to nobody else's house trying to get what it is that you think God is going to give you. All you got to do is stay in your lane, because what God wants you to accomplish, he's already given you everything on the inside of you to do. How do we know this? Because if we look in the natural, I know I'm clinically correct, but help me, mother. A woman is born with all of the eggs on the inside of her that she's ever going to have.
That's right.
And see, I started to scratch my head when I was thinking about that, because I'm like, God, that meant the promise was on the inside of Sarah before you even spoke about it. Before Abraham even knew her, the promise was laying dormant on the inside of her, just waiting for that appointed time. I don't know who this is for this morning. Maybe you feel like God hasn't given you a promise, but I'm telling you, it's already on the inside of you. It's already there, just waiting to come forth. Because Sarah didn't know either. Sarah didn't know she was Sarah. You know, we look at the people in the Bible and we say, oh, they were so great and they did so many great things. They didn't know we were going to be reading about them, apostles. They just walked in faith. They just did what God called them to do. They just yielded themselves to God. They just walked and allowed the favor of God to keep resting on their lives. They just did what God assigned and purposed them to do. And now look today, we're reading about Sarah. And this is 2021. I don't know exactly how many years ago that was. But because Sarah allowed what God to put on the inside of her to be manifested, because she walked in her promise. We're talking about her today. Let me tell you how much so Sarah didn't know who she was. Scholars say that Sarah remains unquestionably the first historical woman of the Hebrews and their first mother. She is therefore one of the most important female figures in world history. Why? Just because of one baby. One baby. Somebody need to catch that so you missed it. Just because of one baby. You look at other people with all the gifts and callings that they have, and you like, oh God, I wish I could sing. I wish I could play the organ. I wish I could sweep the church. I wish I could clean up the church every day. I wish I could stand in the one purpose